The princess tossed her broken prince consort to me, a natural, born eunuch. He suffered constant bullying. This was once the famously aloof top scholar of the capital. Seeing him reduced to such a state, I truly couldn't bear it. I reached out and gently rubbed for him, but I heard him groan softly, covering his face and biting his lip. "Your Highness, the Empress Dowager, your body is precious. Don't touch me. I'm dirty." Later, he used me to gain power over the court, spending every night in the Empress Dowager's bedchamber. I gestured with my hands, tears streaming down my face, making difficult, choke sounds. "Don't be afraid, Your Highness the Empress Dowager. I am a natural, born eunuch, no matter how many times. I cannot get you pregnant. I was originally concubine Lyra, who gained favor through my opera singing. After the Empress poisoned me and took my voice, I never saw the Emperor again. I spent my days alone in the cold, quiet palace, growing flowers and tending plants. Life was barely tolerable, until the new emperor ascended the throne and executed all the crown prince's remaining followers. He made me the Empress Dowager, choosing me only because I somewhat resembled his mother consort, unable to speak, timid by nature, and afflicted with cold poison. In the imperial harem, I'm practically invisible and won't cause any trouble, just as my cold poison flared up, leaving me shivering and curled on the bed. Outside, heavy snow was falling, and the princess threw her ailing prince consort inside. Her sharp scream startled me, making me tremble. "Empress Dowager, what kind of prince consort have you chosen for me?" "This Chen Liang is a natural, born eunuch, no different from a castrato." The princess, accustomed to being domineering, was lustful, extravagant, and debauched. She forcibly married the aloof top scholar, making me the villain in this. And now she's trying to shift the blame onto me. Everyone bullies me because I can't speak up. What's the meaning of dumping the prince consort here with me? If anything happens to him, won't I be the one to take the fall? I ordered my servants to help the already frozen prince consort onto the bed. I even shared half of the bedding with him, but his face remained deathly pale. I rubbed my hands together again, slipped under the covers, and held him tighter. Groping around, I felt the dampness around his lower body. It was all blood. Too frightened, I let out a hoarse and unpleasant sound, disturbing the beauty. Chen Liang finally woke up, frowning slightly, his eyes half open as he looked at me. The Empress Dowager? He actually remembered me. Overjoyed, I widened my eyes and moved closer into his embrace. Unable to speak, I could only nuzzle my head against his firm chest to express my delight. Looking up again, he looked as if he had seen a ghost. "Your Majesty, why am I in your bed?" I wrapped my arms around his waist and, noticing his trembling, comfortingly stroked his hair. The Empress held a grudge, not only poisoning me mute, but also framing me, causing the Emperor to banish me to the cold palace. Even now, as the Empress Dowager, I am only 25, even younger than the Emperor. When Chen Liang came for the palace examination, noble and aloof, with a heart for the world, truly promising material for a benevolent official, I took his essays and also rewarded him with many jewels. Unfortunately, Chen Liang had neither power nor influence, and was exceptionally beautiful. The princess took notice and forcibly married him. From then on, his official career was lost. The princess even used my decree to do it. That's why Chen Liang has always resented me. I lifted his hand and, under his peculiar gaze, traced words on his palm with my fingertip. "Don't be afraid. I'll protect you, Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager." "You." He narrowed his eyes, lowering his gaze to my lips. "You cannot speak." I nodded. "Then, that decree." I urgently grasped his palm. It wasn't me. Seeing him withdraw his hand, his cool gaze filled with wariness as he moved to rise and apologize. I held him tighter, letting out a hoarse breath. "Your Majesty, this is improper by etiquette. I could be executed for this." He wore only a thin undergarment. I traced characters on his chest with my finger. Cold, he trembled slightly with each stroke. Embrace, promotion, being the esteemed top scholar. He immediately understood my meaning. A prince consort is not allowed to interfere in state affairs. Chen Liang had grand ambitions and cared deeply for the world. He wanted to climb higher, and I was giving him the chance. And this would be the only opportunity one would ever grant him. Chen Liang pressed his thin lips together. His arms encircled me. He was tall, allowing me to curl up completely within his embrace. It felt very comfortable. Finally, the torment of the cold poison was alleviated. My thoughts gradually warmed. Only then did I remember that Chen Liang was still injured. So I shifted my body slightly. Our eyes met. My fingers trailed downward. His body tensed instantly, yet he did not stop me. Only his ears flushed red. Strange. The blood doesn't seem to be flowing from here. Is this what a natural, born eunuch is like? I've never seen anyone else's. So naturally, I can't tell the difference. Just out of curiosity, I examined it carefully. It seems to be moving. Why did the princess say it's a eunuch? Your Majesty, what are you? It hurts. Rub it for me. His ears flushed red. He let out a muffled groan, covering his face and biting his lip. Your Majesty's body is precious. Don't touch me. I'm dirty. He wouldn't let me touch him, so I withdrew my hand and continued writing on his chest. Then, blow on it. It won't hurt. His expression changed, and he grabbed my shoulders tightly, holding me close, not allowing me to blow on it. Your Majesty, the princess enjoys tormenting, and you too. I shook my head. Chen Liang is so handsome. Why would the princess want to abuse him? Seeing me staring intently at his face and swallowing my saliva, his humiliated expression finally gave way. Your Majesty may do as you please. With me, promise me you won't go back on your word. I nodded. I burrowed into his chest, pressing tightly against him. It felt infinitely more comfortable than a heating stove. I had originally intended to sleep. After the cold poison flared up, I hadn't slept properly for a long time. But then Chen Liang, after a moment of stunned silence, suddenly lowered his head to kiss my neck. I shrank back slightly, feeling something hard pressing uncomfortably against me. I wanted to ask him what he was doing, but he was already covering my mouth with his. In my panic, I tried to write words on his abdomen with my fingertip, but dizzy from his kisses, my writing turned into aimless circles. Finding it novel. I let Chen Liang have his way. While kissing me, he carefully watched my reactions with passionate eyes. I indulged Chen Liang partly because the cold poison left me with no other outlet for release, and partly because I had never experienced such things before and found them intriguing. The Empress Dowager, Chen Liang, looked at me in shock as tears fell from my eyes. I never knew such matters could be so painful. What kind of lives did those favored consorts in the imperial harem truly lead? My fingertips trembled with pain, making it impossible to even write. I looked at his shoulder, so close to me, and bit down on it. I never could have imagined that the shepherd boy sold into the opera troupe would one day become the Empress Dowager, standing above 10,000 subjects. The late emperor enjoyed listening to me sing. Unfortunately, by the time I entered the palace, the late emperor was already an old man. He couldn't even be bothered to flip the concubine selection plaques. He just called me to sing for him all day. I didn't have to do anything, nor engage in harem struggles. Yet my rank kept rising. Soon I stood equal to several noble consorts who had been scheming against each other for half their lives. Having never suffered the torment of harem politics, I retained an innocent nature. Even the notoriously ruthless ninth prince would sheath his claws in my presence. Will you be my mother consort? I shook my head in shock and horror. The ninth prince's birth mother had long been killed by the Empress. He was taken in and raised in the Empress's palace. His status among the imperial princes was extremely high. These words were overheard by the Empress's spies. Thus, she bore a grudge against me, had me poison mute, and I lost all favor as well. I spent my days idly in the cold palace, thinking my drifting life would end here. On the day the late emperor passed away, I had already prepared a white silk cord to follow him in death. But the ninth prince, bursting through the palace gates, pulled me down in his embrace. Mother consort, you frightened your son to death. He was clad in battle armor, stained with blood, seemingly out of his senses. I stammered and gestured incoherently. Yet, He looked past me as if seeing someone else. Mother consort, look at me. I've become the emperor. Just how much do I resemble his mother consort? Feeling pity, I patted his head and gave him a thumbs up, and then I became the Empress Dowager. Perhaps this is what the fortune teller meant by fools have fortune. I waited in the Emperor's hall of mental cultivation. My hands were tightly clenched. Since the 9th prince ascended the throne, this was the first time I had come to see him on my own initiative. Usually, it was only when he missed his mother consort that he would come to my palace for a brief rest. I never spoke to disturb him. Each time he lay on my lap, he slept soundly. I knew I was merely a substitute. I had no right to ask for real power. But yesterday, I promised Qinliang, although my original intention was just for him to hold me. I didn't expect him to misunderstand my meaning and do that. I bit my lip. The feeling was so good that I was a bit reluctant to let Qinliang go. I've heard that the Empress Dowager can have many male favorites. If only I were a legitimate Empress Dowager. Mother Empress. The Emperor seemed genuinely delighted to see me, as if he was quite pleased that I had come to find him. Mother Empress. Have you missed me? I've been busy lately and haven't paid my respects often. Are you upset with me? I looked up at his commanding eyes and brows, feeling somewhat at a loss. The Emperor has lost his mind. He truly mistakes me for his mother consort. I am foolish and ignorant. Fortunately, I cannot speak. Otherwise, one word from me would make him realize I am but a lowly actor from humble origins, not his noble and precious mother consort. Every moment of this pampered life I now lead fills me with unease. After listening to his endless chatter and enduring his prolonged affections, I finally found an opportunity to discuss Chen Liang's matter. He narrowed his fox-like eyes, lying on my lap while toying with my hair. His expression was unreadable. The letter I had prepared last night was crumpled by him and tossed to the ground. Mother Empress. It's enough that the prince consort holds a sinecure. I grew anxious. He hadn't even properly read it. Inside, I had explained that Chen Liang was a rare talent, and if given important duties, he would surely achieve great things, sharing the emperor's burdens and serving the people. If Mother Empress would personally call me by my name, I shall grant him the position of junior minister. He's deliberately making things difficult for me. I don't know sign language. If I want to speak, I need to fetch brush and ink. He took my hand, placed it on his chest, and whispered, "If Mother Empress wishes to write, do so here." The Emperor is acting rather strange today. Could he have planted spies in my palace? Does he know about those matters between me and Qinliang? The princess is displeased. Divorce. Writing on the body of the Son of Heaven. My fingertips trembled uncontrollably. Yet, he clearly lacked Chen Liang's sensitivity. He grabbed my hand, placed it back on his chest, and deliberately loosened his collar. Write it again. I don't understand. If the princess finds another suitable match, Chen Liang may enter court service. This sentence is too long. I wrote stroke by stroke for what felt like ages. Midway, he even removed his dragon robe, letting me write directly on his skin. Those fox-like eyes never left me the entire time. My hand trembled, causing me to write a character incorrectly. He said he couldn't understand it and demanded I rewrite it. The Emperor's heart is inscrutable. Serving a ruler is like keeping company with a tiger. When I finished writing, faint red marks remained on his chest, seemingly bearing witness to my audacity. Mother Empress, are you having me force the princess to divorce so you can monopolize the prince consort? So you can carry on with Chen Liang and bear me a royal brother to usurp my throne? I shrank back in fear, quickly waving my hands in denial. Sheng Zhao was a ruthless man who had killed his own father and brothers. During the struggle among the 9 princes for the throne, he left none of his brothers alive. Now, he had misunderstood my intentions and had already conceived murderous thoughts. The entire empire was his, so my affairs with Chen Liang naturally couldn't escape his spies. Anxiously, I wanted to write again to explain, but he seized my wrist. Mother Empress, my Wort is love. The day you can speak my name aloud, I will grant you anything, but you are not honest. Mother Empress, and I am plagued by suspicion. He curled his lips slightly. I will have the princess divorce him. My eyes lit up, but Chen Liang can only enter the palace as a eunuch. Then I'll let you have your fill of fun with him. How about that, going for wool and coming back shorn? If Chen Liang truly becomes a eunuch because of this, I fear he won't just hate me. I also use my power to force him to offer his body. Now, he has no one to rely on, cornered and desperate, placing all his hopes on me. Who knows what mad things he might do? I don't want to make enemies. First, because I can't win against them. Second, because Chen Liang's writings are brilliant. And with the nation facing internal and external crises, his reform strategies are urgently needed. I got off Xingzhao, fearing he might really castrate Chen Liang to make him a eunuch. I instinctively knelt to beg for mercy, but I forgot I am now the Empress Dowager. My arm was grabbed fiercely. Mother Empress actually kneeled to me for a lowly prince consort. Xingzhao's eyes held a flicker of anger. He instructed the eunuch waiting nearby, summon Chen Liang. Could it be that he intends to castrate Chen Liang right before my eyes? I quickly tried to explain. He wouldn't let me use a brush or trace characters, watching me grow frantic until I cried. My arm ached from his grip as he pulled me close, lifting my chin with one hand, his thumb pressing against my lips. If the Mother Empress wishes to plead, kneeling won't help. Speaking up is what works. Stop crying. When you cry, you no longer resemble my Mother Empress. I opened my mouth, struggling to form words with my lips, calling out the Emperor. But only a hoarse, breathy sound emerged. That's not right. A dangerous glint flashed in his fox-like eyes. Call me Sheng. Address the Emperor by his personal name. I was so frightened that I snapped back to reality instantly. I let him slip his fingers into my mouth, too stunned to react. He's trying to lure me into committing a capital offense. Mother Empress, call me, and I will appoint Chen Liang to an official post. He pressed against my tongue, scrutinizing my discomfort with a domineering air. If I tried to call out Sheng, I would bite his finger. I attempted to speak softly, but Chen Liang arrived swiftly. Your servant pays respects to your majesty and wishes eternal peace to the Empress Dowager. A cool, familiar voice came from behind. In my haste, I bit down on my knuckle, producing a hoarse and unpleasant sound. Sheng. Xingzhao frowned with a slight hiss, withdrew his finger to examine the teeth marks. Yet his expression softened considerably. Chen Liang, the Empress Dowager, holds you in high regard. Shall I grant you the position of the Minister of Justice? Xingzhao was a smiling tiger. The more composed his expression, the more displeased he was. Your servant dares not accept. I am content to serve the princess with all my heart. Chen Liang dared not lift his gaze, yet I felt his peripheral attention fixed on me. Anxiously, I twisted my handkerchief tightly. Since Sheng Zhao had already given his consent, why would Chen Liang refuse? Oh, Sheng Zhao had completely inherited his mother consort's features. His fox-like eyes narrowed slightly as he gazed at Chen Liang with great interest. Finally, he chuckled a few times. Serve Princess Luna. Princess Luna delights in tormenting men for amusement. Your life would likely be worse than that of a male courtesan in a brothel, wouldn't it? My hand, holding the teacup, tilted, splashing hot tea onto my skin. The pain left me speechless. Sheng Zhao, ever attentive, grasped my fingertips and gently blew on them, all while keeping up his chatter. I've watched Princess Luna grow up. She always acts as if she were a man. Minister Chen, with your striking beauty, it seems like a match made in heaven. Recalling the bloodstains I saw that day, I stole a glance at Chen Liang. His brow was slightly furrowed, yet he showed no sign of displeasure. It seemed Chen Liang was accustomed to such humiliation, daring only to retreat inwardly in the face of Sheng Zhao's probing. My fingertips remained nestled in Sheng Zhao's palm. I tilted my head, pointed at my red lips with my other hand, then slowly extended it, stopping just before Sheng Zhao's thin lips. This was the first time I looked directly at him. A promise is a promise. I didn't believe Xing Zhao failed to understand my meaning. He could compose poetry at 4, recite the 4 books by 7, and had earned illustrious military merits at the frontier by 13. The only prince who survived the 9 princes' fierce struggle for the throne in the deep palace's intrigues. In truth, he was even more intelligent and ruthless than Chen Liang. Silence lingered for a long time in the hall of mental cultivation. The chief eunuch standing nearby wiped the sweat from his forehead. After a long while, Xing Zhao snapped out of it and curved his lips into a smile. Announced the decree. The princess and the prince consort are discordant. Permission for divorce is granted. Chen Liang is to enter the palace immediately and assume the position of the Grand Steward. The chief eunuch by Xing Zhao's side was very old. It was said he was the most loyal eunuch from his mother consort's retinue. The tortures he endured and the poisons he intercepted for the consort were beyond count. Xing Zhao's ascension to the throne owed much to Jing Fuzhou's contributions. Now that Sheng Zhao was allowing him to retire and enjoy his remaining years, it was only fitting, but I hadn't expected him to appoint Chen Liang as his chief eunuch. The heart of an emperor is unfathomable. Just when I thought I could predict Sheng Zhao's next move, he would always catch me off guard. Chen Liang must harbor deep hatred for the Zhao family, first Princess Luna, and now Sheng Zhao, to keep such a potential threat so close at hand. If he served tea, Xing Zhao might dare to drink it, but I wouldn't. Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager. I watched as Chen Liang bowed before me, presenting the teacup with downcast eyes and a submissive demeanor. As I turned to pick up a brush to write, Chen Liang stopped me. Your Majesty, I have learned some sign language. Disregarding propriety, he took my hand and, under my puzzled gaze, slowly taught me the first sign. This means live. This means kill. He clumsily manipulated my fingers, and with the last gesture, he placed his hand over my chest, revealing a hint of personal intent. This means, I adore you. His cool, detached eyes calmly watched me. I was confused, but this novel method was much more convenient than writing. Have you learned it, Your Highness the Empress Dowager? When I become a eunuch serving the emperor, you can use this method to tell me what you want. Others won't understand. I grabbed his sleeve as he tried to pull away, seriously repeating the final gesture. I adore you. His eyes flickered slightly, as if confirming something, the corner of his lips curling upward, as if suddenly enlightened. I patted his thin shoulder, then tapped my own chest. I will protect you. Then I pointed at his lower body and shook my head. You won't become a eunuch. Faced with such direct behavior, Chen Liang was momentarily stunned. Your Highness the Empress Dowager, being a eunuch doesn't matter. My life is already ruined anyway, and it's better than staying by the princess's side. With melancholy in his eyes, he naturally knelt down and took my hand as he spoke. Moreover, with the Empress Dowager's protection, I'm sure I won't have to endure hardships anymore. Chen Liang's smile was as enchanting as a celestial being. It carried a fragile beauty that felt almost too sacred to taint. I think I finally understand why the princess enjoys toying with Chen Liang. I dismissed all the attendants. Slowly, I leaned down and kissed Chen Liang's brow and eyes. It seemed as if our hearts were in sync. He shed his garments, awaiting my tenderness. Xing Zhao's tyranny brings chaos to the empire. Kill. Chen Liang was indeed exceptionally skilled in that regard. His flamboyant techniques clashed starkly with his aloof demeanor. Whether taught by the princess or born with a natural talent, it was unclear. As a natural, born eunuch, he must have compensated in other ways. In any case, I found great pleasure in it. I had never attempted to reform the palace, for I lacked the insight to judge character. I let them go and report everything to Xing Zhao. Snowy nights are always the hardest to bear. Chen Liang held me as we stepped out of the wooden tub filled with warm water. An uninvited guest appeared outside the bedchamber. If Sheng Zhao were to witness this scene, he would undoubtedly have Chen Liang executed immediately. I adjusted my fox fur robe and signaled for Chen Liang to hide behind the screen. I calmly watched as Sheng Zhao entered the bedchamber, his expression dark. Mother Empress. His dragon robe was soaked by wind and snow, his eyes filled with desolation, like a defeated dog. The imperial power he seized through usurpation wasn't so easy to wield. I beckoned with my hand. He then discarded his dragon robe and cautiously leaned against my leg. His body still carried the chill. Xingzhao didn't know I suffered from cold poison, only that I feared the cold. Mother Empress, have I not treated you well? Naturally, you have. I couldn't tell if he was speaking to me or to his true mother consort, so I followed my usual habit, remaining silent, letting his misplaced longing dissipate on its own. But Sheng Zhao didn't appreciate this, as he unexpectedly turned his head to look directly at me. I despised his fox, like eyes that seemed to see right through people. Speak, Mother Empress. The Emperor enjoys forcing others to do the impossible. I smiled and gently stroked his head. The next moment, he too smiled as he gripped my chin, forcing me to lower my head, bringing us so close I had nowhere to hide. Whether you cry or smile, you no longer resemble my mother consort. Sheng Zhao's tone was off. I quickly composed my expression. I know you're not skilled in palace intrigues, so instead of making you a consort, I've given you the position of Empress Dowager, so no one dares disrespect you. He-ji, I want you to live a carefree life. Don't push me, alright? This was the first time Sheng Zhao had called me by my name. Looking at Sheng Zhao's lips, purple from the cold, I wondered how long he had been wandering outside. I'm cold, Mother Empress. His fox, like eyes lingered on my lips. Warm me, my name is He-ji. A life as insignificant as a lotus leaf or duckweed. As the eldest daughter at home, I did the hardest and most exhausting work, taking care of 7 or 8 younger siblings. I would go out to herd sheep and scavenge before dawn, returning home in the dark with the silver notes I'd earned. From the moment I could remember, I knew my fate was to be sold cheaply, either to a brothel or as a concubine to some wealthy master. If I had been unfortunate enough to be born ugly, I might have been married off to a butcher, bearing a bunch of poor children and serving others day and night. But instead, I was sold as a child bride to a handsome scholar. When Chen Liang's mother bought me, their family was so poor they could barely put food on the table. Chen Liang was still a little boy, running around bare-bottomed. He didn't speak until he was 6. They say noble children talk late, a sign of early wisdom. You're the bride my mother bought for me. At that time, I was 12, cooking meals, washing clothes, gathering firewood. I didn't want to bother with this silly fool. Does the bride have milk? No. He sucked his fingers somewhat disappointedly. It's fine if you don't have it, but could you not be so fierce? I prefer gentle and refined ones. Taking advantage of his mother's absence, I gave his head a good hard knock. Ouch. Don't knock me silly. My mother says I'm the reincarnation of the star of literature. You're the fool. I spat in disdain. Stop spouting nonsense. A pauper who can't even afford food. And you dare dream of being the star of literature? You shrew. Let's make a bet. If I become the top scholar, you can never raise your voice at me for the rest of your life. Fine. I smacked the top of his head again. And if you fail, I'll castrate you and sell you to the palace as a eunuch. You. Chen Liang pouted and started wiping away tears. Ha ha ha. You can't even put on your pants properly. No one would want you as a eunuch. But unexpectedly, by the age of 8, Chen Liang was already composing poetry with a brush. Even more unexpectedly, that year, his mother fell gravely ill. I left with the trafficker at the door, leaving him a stack of banknotes. His eyes glistened with tears, but he said nothing. I, too, remained silent. Such is the wretched fate of the poor. For someone like Sheng Zhao, born into royalty, how could he possibly care about the bones of the frozen dead by the roadside? He would only focus on securing his precarious imperial power. He would only act like an immature child, calling someone who merely resembled her by 70 or 80% Mother Empress. I rubbed my fingertips to warm them, then pressed them against his lips. Mother Empress is so kind. His eyes curved into smiles as he let me continue warming his jaw and neck. Then he tugged my hand and guided it to his chest. I felt somewhat uneasy, my ears turning red. Sheng Zhao was handsome. His masculinity was the complete opposite of Chen Liang's. To say I never felt a flicker of affection for him would be a lie. But I always despised his harsh policies, despised his ruthless tactics as an emperor. The cruelty of fratricide and patricide. He would never possess genuine feelings, only endless tests and probes. It's getting late. Your Majesty should rest soon. I wrote with my brush. Xingzhao didn't leave. I want to sleep with Mother Empress. How improper. I shook my head. The Emperor has official records of his daily life. Xingzhao couldn't possibly do such an absurd thing. Sure enough, he stared at me for a moment, then put on his dragon robe and left. His retreating figure looked lonely. Wind and snow rushed in. I was pulled into a warm embrace. Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager. A gentle, jade-like voice sounded by my ear, accompanied by a light laugh. Your servant also wants to sleep with Mother. His hair fell before me, intertwining like the red thread of fate. Then he kissed my neck, growing much bolder. A bride is also a mother. When Sheng Zhao called out my name, I knew Chen Liang would recognize me. In the heat of passion, Chen Liang's voice trembled with emotion. I've missed you all these years. Did you ever think of me, even for a moment, of this faithless man, this coward who sold his wife for glory? Take my life. He directly called the Empress Dowager by her name, utterly lawless. I believe both my wife and I have received our retribution. The morning bird song gradually rose. It was the orioles in the palace. Bleary, I looked at the beauty beside me who had propped herself up. What do you mean by that? I signed with my hands. Chen Liang curled her lips into a smile and held me tighter. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, Does the Empress Dowager remember the bet we made? If I passed the imperial examination as the top scholar, you would no longer raise your voice disrespectfully to me. If I failed, I would be castrated to become a eunuch. Empress Dowager, the essay wasn't written by me. I took someone else's place. That person was too afraid of death to attend the palace examination. I blinked, seemingly unsurprised by this revelation. Even before the palace examination, I had heard that the best essay wasn't written by Chen Liang. Those pretentious eulogies were quite to Xingzhao's liking, and anyone daring enough to write such essays during the palace examination must possess the courage to face death. I nodded and gave a thumbs up. Chen Liang smiled beautifully, like a jade, like gentlemen with affectionate eyes. In that palace examination, aside from Chen Liang, everyone else was incompetent. Princess Luna's forced marriage to Chen Liang also aligned with Xing Zhao's intentions. He couldn't stand those admonishments, so he employed this method of killing with a borrowed knife. Then Princess Luna used my name as pretext. The Zhao family's methods of ruining people are all the same. This reminded me of Sheng Zhao's mother consort, the once world-renowned noble consort Su, who was also branded with the accusation of seducing the ruler and hanged on the city gate to appease public anger, covering up that old emperor's incompetence. Sheng Zhao learned nothing good from it, since he chose me as his mother. I would never allow him to become a tyrant. Chen Liang kissed my hair gently, then he knelt before me, but his words carried no trace of seriousness. Empress Dowager, whether you can keep this delightful possession depends entirely on today. I hadn't yet figured out how to respond with gestures, when suddenly, the sharp voice of Jingfu Zhou echoed outside the hall. Chen Liang, come with me. You have divorced the princess, and are to be castrated and enter the palace immediately. This chief eunuch didn't show me the slightest respect. I draped the fox fur cloak over myself, opened the door, and stood before him. Empress Dowager, this is the emperor's command. I nodded. Then he produced a letter. Xing Zhao couldn't read it, but Jingfu Zhou could. To my beloved wife, Jin Su. Seeing these words is like seeing you in person. Chen Liang stood by my side, shielding me from some of the harsh elements, his faint smile mirroring my own. Together, we observed the ever-changing expression on Jingfu Zhou's face. Is our son well? Sheng sounds pleasant, so we'll call him Sheng. Jingfu Zhou's face had already turned quite unpleasant. He had taken poison for noble consort Su, aging over a decade, yet one could faintly discern those sinister eyes. How did these end up in your hands? Eunuch Zhou, you've forgotten to address Her Majesty the Empress Dowager properly. You must be growing senile. Chen Liang's reminder was perfectly timed. Though Jingfu Zhou seethed with hatred, He hadn't forgotten to restrain himself. This servant deserves death. Though you hold the position of chief eunuch, you have defiled the imperial harem, a crime punishable by execution, whether emboldened by my authority or not. Chen Liang seemed far more daring. It was as if he could read my mind, speaking every word I intended to say on my behalf. After noble consort Su was confined to the cold palace, she hid these letters beneath the palace walls. As fate would have it, I happened to be one of the few, the second minor consort cast into the cold palace by the old emperor, and I had a penchant for tending to plants. Every patch of barren soil beneath those walls had been turned over by me in my idleness. Initially, I took these letters merely to pass the time. I never imagined using them to regain favor, because I actually quite liked the ninth prince. He often visited me in the cold palace, pitying me with a guilt-ridden, pained expression. He never let me go hungry or cold. I had intended to take this sealed pass with me to the imperial mausoleum. After all, if this were ever exposed, it would be a crime punishable by execution of the entire clan. Then, which young prince would come every day to catch crickets to amuse me, bring me ice cakes and storybooks from outside the palace. Flowers in the cold palace always bloomed later than those outside, yet the first bloom of every year was always brought to me by the ninth prince. When the cold palace was locked, he would climb the wall, often arriving dusty and disheveled, but the flowers were always carefully protected. I never expected these letters would one day come in handy. Sheng Zhao's ascension to the throne was illegitimate from the start. With this as evidence, Sheng Zhao is not of royal blood. The feudal lords who wished to challenge him would have the perfect pretext. Eunuch Zhou, shall we proceed with the castration? Let's not delay and risk displeasing the emperor. Chen Liang shrank behind me, pretending to worry. He glanced at the sun. I forgot. The prince consort was a natural, born eunuch. Since heaven has favored him this way, there's no need for me to intervene. Empress Dowager, I shall go report back now. Watching Jing Fuzhou flee in panic, I turned to Chen Liang, gently raising a finger. Live. Not long after Chen Liang became the chief eunuch, Jing Fuzhou passed away at home. Half of the palace's power fell into Chen Liang's hands. With my backing, he could act with impunity. In just one night, the number of eunuchs in the palace was halved. I sat beside the hall of mental cultivation, smiling faintly as I watched Sheng Zhao reviewing memorials at the desk. How many times have I told you not to smile? Sheng Zhao hated it when I smiled. I finally understood the reason. His mother consort, a delicate beauty with a sorrowful face, was a minister's wife seized by the late emperor, who never loved him. And Jing Fuzhou was once a powerful minister. After being sidelined by the late emperor, he lost his wife and hanged himself during the confiscation of his property. He faked his death, altered his appearance, and infiltrated the palace as a eunuch. He often stayed close to noble consort Su, engaging in illicit affairs. In the end, they turned the entire realm into their possession. Sheng Zhao's usurpation was entirely orchestrated by Jing Fuzhou. When the young eunuch from the palace hall came to report, Sheng Zhao spat out a mouthful of blood. Without Jing Fuzhou, Sheng Zhao lost the only person truly loyal to him, and the factions loyal to Jing Fuzhou in the courts scattered instantly like monkeys fleeing a falling tree. Sheng Zhao had no one he could trust. Since childhood, he had called his enemy mother, enduring endless humiliation in the Empress's palace. His mind was too deep and complex. After ascending the throne, he couldn't even eat or sleep in peace. I glanced at Chen Liang. He stood beside Sheng Zhao. Even though he wore the dark attire of a eunuch, it couldn't conceal his handsome appearance, rivaling that of Panin. If I were a historian, I would surely write some unofficial histories, spreading rumors that Sheng Zhao had a preference for male companions. Chen Liang understood my meaning without even looking up, presenting Longjing tea and medicinal pills. Your Majesty, please take care of your health for the sake of the nation and its people. Sheng Zhao took the pills and swallowed them in one gulp. I had never drunk the tea that Chen Liang served. Thus, I had never truly understood Sheng Zhao's thoughts, nor why he always trusted those who shouldn't be trusted. Chen Liang gently patted his back to help him breathe easier. Sheng Zhao's deep, fox-like eyes turned toward me. Mother Empress, how have you been lately? Ever since Chen Liang began accompanying Sheng Zhao, he never had the chance to come find me. The deep palace was truly lonely. If I wanted to see Chen Liang, I had to come to the Hall of Mental Cultivation to see Sheng Zhao. What a clever scheme. If Sheng Zhao wanted to see me, he could simply have his carriage brought. Yet, he forced me to come to him instead. The Empress Dowager visited the Hall of Mental Cultivation more often than the imperial concubines. Each time, I had to make up excuses. I nodded, then heard him speak again. What brings you to me? I missed you. Against my conscience. I picked up the brush to write. Then I walked to his desk and showed it to him. Has it not even been 2 days? And you miss me again? Sheng Zhao laughed coldly. Missing him was a lie. Naturally, I only wanted to see Chen Liang. I didn't believe Sheng Zhao was unaware. He rubbed his temples and surprisingly shifted aside, offering me the dragon throne to sit. I'm tired. Mother Empress, could you coax me to rest, as you did when I was young? How could I dare to refuse? I cautiously sat beside him, and so, under Chen Liang's gaze, Sheng Zhao lay his head on my lap. I understood Sheng Zhao's temper, but I couldn't fathom his thoughts. Yet Chen Liang and I shared a deep understanding, though I didn't grasp his temperament. The atmosphere in the Hall of Mental Cultivation was delicate. Sheng Zhao's immaturity made him seem like a child vying for attention, using this method to provoke Chen Liang. Yet Chen Liang remained as calm and composed as ever. Apart from the fear and fragility on our first meeting, I never saw any extra emotion on Chen Liang's face again. Your Majesty, there are still 100 memorials left. Will you not review them today? Chen Liang spoke up. I frowned slightly. No wonder Sheng Zhao has been so exhausted these past few days. What exactly is happening at court that requires so many memorials in a single day? No more reviewing. They're all just annoying old fools. Sheng Zhao dislikes admonishments. When he first ascended the throne, he even had Jingfu Zhou screen the memorials first, intercepting any that contained advice. It wasn't until I persuaded him that he reluctantly began to review them. I massaged his temples, but my gaze was fixed on the memorials, my mind wandering. If Mother Empress wishes to read them, you may review them all on my behalf. Your handwriting is excellent. Surely you would enjoy this task. Chen Liang and I exchanged a glance. It seemed as if in just a few short days, he had grown distant from me, even daring to avoid my gaze. Could it be that he truly has a fondness for men, like Sheng Zhao, especially after serving someone as twisted as Princess Luna? The absurd thought flashed through my mind. I opened the memorial before me. On it, Sheng Zhao's sharp handwriting harshly scrawled the words understood. I clenched my fingertips. The Empress Dowager, formerly a courtesan from the Red Chamber, acts licentiously and is unworthy of her position. A reincarnated seductress who brings calamity to the nation and its people. I beg for her execution, lest the Emperor's authority wanes and the people live in fear. Such memorials, at a glance, made up about 30% of them. I suspected something had been added to the elixir today. Sheng Zhao, who usually sleeps no more than 2 hours, had surprisingly fallen into a deep slumber. Finally, I had the chance to see Chen Liang, leaning against the railing. I watched the snow. Unconsciously, a broad chest enveloped me from behind. I sobbed a few times, using sign language. My eyes filled with sorrow. I made a gesture of hanging by the neck. You know full well that I am about to be hanged, just like Jean Su, noble consort Su, and the countless seductive consorts recorded in history. Why are there so many reincarnations of seductive consorts? They must be quite busy. I don't even speak anymore. No longer sing opera. Quietly living out my days in the cold palace. How could a mute girl possibly sway the hearts of these men? The Son of Heaven sheds his armor for me. The top scholar willingly falls from grace for me. The powerful eunuch relinquishes his authority through death for my sake. They all rush to their doom like moths to a flame. Isn't it because I appear somewhat desirable? If I were truly as pure and virtuous as they claim, I should be the virtuous minister praised in sages' books, the oriole caged beneath the eaves. Whether as a man or a domestic animal, I should have met a good end. But alas, I am a woman, the scapegoat condemned by all. I was born with an exalted fate, yet still could not escape the tragic destiny of a beautiful life cut short. I don't understand why those deemed deserving of execution have always been women of high status. High status brings loneliness and solitude. Why must it only be the emperor? Yet no one ever considers those women who never earn a mention in historical records. From birth, destined to drift, constantly banished and traded, unwanted by my maiden family, unwelcome in my husband's, when I carved out my own small world, surrounded by flowers and plants, barely daring to call myself this palace. Yet I found it hard to speak. Those who call themselves the solitary one are accompanied by beautiful concubines and powerful ministers, while I, the mute who calls herself this palace, moved from the palace of elegant gathering to the palace of flowing splendor, to the cold palace, and finally to the palace of serene compassion. Truly, I'm only remembered as the pitiable woman who lived in which palace. Good or evil, venomous or kind, all are treated like mutes, never allowed to explain, only to be judged. When beauty fades and the rooms stand empty, that is when one becomes truly alone. The Empress Dowager. Even in moments of intimate closeness, Chen Liang still addresses me so formally. Don't call me the Empress Dowager. Call me by my name. I couldn't write the name, so I pointed at the frozen lake instead. He-ji, without your protection from now on, I probably won't survive. I came to the capital to pursue an official career solely for you. Rest assured, I've noted all those who submitted memorials against you. I won't spare a single one. I smiled gently. Chen Liang's eyelashes grew damp, from the wind and snow, and from tears. It was regret, but never love. These men only ever think of themselves. Did Sheng Zhao truly lay down his arms for me? He was cowardly and starved, deformed by his upbringing, merely projecting his weaknesses onto me for comfort. Did Chen Liang truly fall from grace because of me? He could have started as an honest official, yet he took charge of the cabinet, becoming a eunuch addicted to cruelty and killing. He had simply grown accustomed to harsh environments, understanding the world's true nature from an early age. The memorials were the people's cries of anger and resentment. Having witnessed them since childhood, he merely summarized them with his clever brush. Whoever stood in his way, he eliminated them. It takes two to tango. If he hadn't flattered, Princess Luna wouldn't have harbored ill intentions. Trading power by pleasing women was the career path he chose after seeing through the court's intrigues. Now, with the people suffering, the court in transition, and internal and external threats, reform is urgently needed. All that's missing is a woman's body on the city gate tower, symbolizing the new era. I am unchaste and impure, indulging in pleasure. To outsiders, I be judged just as I see Princess Luna, lustful, extravagant, and debauched. But what does any of this have to do with those suffering people, regardless of gender? Human nature is never noble. Nobility lies in sacrifice alone. Yet the fruits of women's sacrifices are stolen by men, making their lives as light as a feather. I kissed Chen Liang's lips gently. Slowly, I drew a yellowed scroll from my sleeve and lightly placed it over his list of traitors to be executed. Save me. Don't kill people. Kill Sheng Zhao. Chen Liang's expression turned cold. Are you serious? I nodded. This phrase was among the first hand signs Liang Chen taught me. Days had passed. Sheng Zhao grew increasingly reluctant to see me. Those memorials had already overwhelmed him. It seemed he was about to follow in the late emperor's footsteps. After all, without me, there would be another who resembled his mother consort, making me a helpless woman unable to plead my case. Bear the blame was the optimal strategy. Standing outside the grand hall, I rubbed my reddened fingers as I heard Liang Chen's deliberately affected voice from within. With such heavy snowfall, next year's harvest is sure to be bountiful. If there are matters to report, do so. If not, this court is adjourned. A clattering sound echoed as court tablets fell to the ground. judging by the commotion. About half of the ministers must have knelt. I dare risk death to admonish. The Empress Dowager's scandal of monopolizing the prince consort and forcing the princess to divorce has spread throughout the realm. The grand astrologer observed the celestial signs at night and declared that Empress Dowager Ji is the reincarnation of a seductive enchantress, extravagant, debauched, and deluding the masses, while allowing the eunuchs and cabinet to abuse their power. Her virtue does not match her position, endangering the imperial authority. She must be eliminated to appease the people's fury. After a long pause, Sheng Zhao's deep voice resonated with restrained anger. The seductive enchantress you speak of, is it noble consort Su? Precisely. She is my own mother consort. Are you implying that I, too, am unworthy of my position? I dare not. Your Majesty, I implore you to prioritize the stability of the realm. Not only are the common people lamenting and complaining, but even the general guarding the frontier has shown unusual movements recently. Hearing this, I nodded with a sigh of realization. The Minister of War has quite the audacity, detecting such stirrings, yet not rushing to inform Sheng Zhao. Instead, he waits until today in the Grand Hall to intimidate him with it. But Sheng Zhao is not one to be easily frightened. Then, voices urging to prioritize the realm's welfare rose one after another. The underlying message of their words was clear. Hurry up and hang me. Just as I was listening intently, a hurried figure approached from behind. I glanced sideways to signal her to be quiet. Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager, the elegant and dignified woman before me looked somewhat familiar, making me tilt my head in confusion. I'm Vivian Ling. Don't you remember me? Back when I was Sheng Zhao's concubine, you saved me. So it's that poor little thing. Your Majesty, I've prepared plenty of gold hairpins, jewelry, and banknotes. You must leave the palace quickly. Looking at the bundle shoved into my arms, I grew even more puzzled. Your Majesty, you saved my life once, so my life belongs to you. Sheng Zhao wants me to be a substitute puppet. I've had enough of this life. I'll take your place and face death. Looking more carefully, she did bear some resemblance to me. No, actually, she looked more like Jean Su, though her temperament left something to be desired. With such an impulsive personality, it must have been exhausting for her to pretend to be gentle and please Sheng Zhao all this time. Come to think of it, my fate has truly been fortunate. Even when facing the crisis of being labeled a nation-wrecking seductress, there's actually a beauty willing to die in my place. I smiled silently to myself. Then, I returned the bundle containing her life's savings to her. I won't allow a woman to suffer in silence. Outside the Grand Hall, a new figure appeared eavesdropping by the wall. Vivian Ling seemed to be doing this for the first time, her curious eyes darting around restlessly. Empress Dowager, why can't I hear the Emperor's voice? The Emperor must look even more handsome while governing. If only I could see him. I took a deep breath and shook my head helplessly. The court seemed to have reached a deadlock. Just at that moment, that domineering figure finally arrived. I looked at Princess Luna, who was frowning and rushing over, and put on a smile. How utterly annoying. Who could possibly get up in such heavy snow? Being a few moments late shouldn't matter, right? Princess Luna looked down at me haughtily, her upturned eyes full of impatience. Behind her followed a humble and gentle figure, who bowed to me with a face full of apology. This princess wants to enter. Go inform Sheng Zhao immediately. The young eunuch guarding the door was already drenched in cold sweat, scrambling away in panic. Your Majesty, Princess Luna requests an audience, and she brought a... What does she want? A suppressed gasp reached my ears, finally hearing the Emperor's voice. It's so pleasant. Pity I won't hear it again if I'm truly hanged. Alas, I rubbed my ears and took a fresh look at Vivian Ling, the imperial consort, favor above all in the harem, could still be so lively and innocent. It seemed Sheng Zhao had protected her well. What, with all these court officials incessantly criticizing me, am I not allowed to come? Princess Luna cast a glance at the old fools kneeling. She strode directly to the front. Princess, women are not to interfere in state affairs. when I was shedding blood on the frontier. You old man were at home marrying 18 concubines. If I didn't interfere, where would you get the money to ruin young girls? Despise women, huh? What, didn't you have a mother? Vivian Ling nearly burst out laughing. I led her to stand by the palace door and watch, with Princess Luna leading the charge. No one had the attention to spare for the two of us. Sheng Zhao massaged his temples in frustration. The entire court is discussing the Empress Dowager, not you. Not every accusation of extravagance and debauchery is aimed at you. Of course it concerns me. They are slandering the Empress Dowager and tarnishing my prince consort's reputation. You freely discuss a woman's life and death, yet forbid women from attending court. What kind of logic is that? Princess Luna turned sideways, revealing the delicate face behind her. My prince consort is right here. Take a good look. This humble commoner pays respects to the emperor. Xing Zhao was stunned. The entire court was equally dumbfounded. Who are you? This humble commoner is CustomHashtags. Another sycophant couldn't hold back. Impossible. The prince consort is the top scholar. Princess Luna interjected. The imperial examination essay was written by CustomHashtags. The prince consort is a natural born eunuch. Princess Luna nodded. Exactly. A woman. Then what the Empress Dowager seized was, are you talking about me? All eyes turned to Qinliang, standing by the dragon throne with a forced smile. Clatter. This time, it was the court officials who dropped their court tablets. Absurd. Sheng Zhao rubbed his temples. Are you saying you disguised yourself as a man to take the exams, but didn't dare face the final palace exam? So you had Qinliang come in your place. It was my idea. Princess Luna curled her lips. Brother, you're too timid. You don't employ loyal officials. And even CustomHashtags' brave remonstrance was in vain. Look what happened to Qinliang. If it weren't for the Empress Dowager's protection, he'd have been long gone. Reckless talk. Sheng Zhao showed impatience but didn't truly lose his temper. He seemed to have figured something out. Casting a cold glance at Luna and Qinliang. Are you colluding with the Empress Dowager? Your Majesty, you're a bit late to realize it. Princess Luna shook her head, only figuring it out after the cabinet has already sidelined you. Then she patted CustomHashtags on the shoulder. Recite. The essay Xing Zhao had once refused to face, now echoed clearly in his ears. Wort by wort. Today, Your Majesty, you'll have to implement this new policy, whether you want to or not. But don't be timid. Those old eunuchs who disrupted the court have already been dealt with by Qinliang. I've also retrieved the tiger tally, so you needn't worry about the border. Princess Luna tossed the tiger tally to Xing Zhao. As for distinguishing loyalty from treachery in the court, and who truly opposes the reforms, it's obvious. I counted the number of people kneeling. From a distance, I smiled and gestured to Qinliang. Kill. After the new policy was enacted, memorials increased significantly, and unrest naturally followed. But with Qinliang in the Grand Secretariat, Princess Luna in the Ministry of War, and CustomHashtags as Chancellor, I only needed to urge Xing Zhao to be diligent in governance and teach him the upbringing that noble consort Su never had the chance to impart. I handled some unimportant memorials on Xing Zhao's behalf. Mother Empress, I thought even you wanted to kill me. When the spy reported, my heart felt as if being sliced by knives. I knew that scoundrel Chen Liang taught you sign language, and every time you said you wanted to kill me, Xing Zhao curled up wearily on my lap, faint tear stains visible. So he had known all along about our every word and action. I let out a light laugh. Then I picked up my brush and wrote. What I meant was to kill the emperor's harsh policies. I don't know how to gesture that. I could only say, kill the emperor. The seductive concubine shouldn't be killed, nor should the emperor. What truly deserves death are the harsh policies, incompetence, and inaction. Wrong is wrong, and if not corrected, it will eventually harm both others and oneself, making loved ones bear the blame. Do you admit your mistakes? Mother Empress, I was wrong. I smiled silently and had Qinliang light the incense. As our fingers brushed past each other, our eyes met, a moment that could hardly be called innocent. Amid the curling smoke, I looked at the oriole outside the window and set down my brush. Reborn as a seductive concubine? Well, that's fine too. For generations, the enchanting consorts have all been mute maidens. Their grievances, hardships, actions, and sacrifices. To whom can they be told?